Hello, dear friends. Welcome to English Habit Zone. If you want to become confident in English, you are in the right place. Let's start today's English practice.
Today, we are doing something a little bit different. We are not just looking at a text. We are stepping into a time machine.
Okay, I'm with you.
I want you to imagine it's Christmas Eve. The year is 1879. We are in a town in Norway, and it is cold. I mean, bone-chilling, Nordic winter cold.
The kind of cold that makes the indoors feel not just comfortable, but like essential for survival.
Exactly. We are opening the door to a very specific living room. It smells like pine needles from a fresh Christmas tree, maybe the faint scent of roasting meat, and you can hear the crackle of a wood stove.
Cozy, very cozy.
But underneath all those cozy smells, if you really pay attention, there's a different scent. The smell of anxiety, the smell of secrets.
It's the Helmer residence, and on the surface, it is the absolute picture of Victorian domestic perfection. But we are here to peel back the wallpaper. We are looking at Act 1 of Henrik Ibsen's masterpiece, A Doll's House.
Our mission today is to look past the decorations and the humming and really unpack the dynamics of this household. We want to understand the transactions, both financial and emotional, that are happening right in front of us. Because this isn't just a story about a bad holiday.
No, it's a forensic accounting of a marriage. It's a story about a seemingly perfect wife, Nora Helmer, who is hiding a devastating secret, a secret that threatens to just blow up her husband's newfound success.
And to understand it, we have to look at the economics of the 19th century, the legal non-existence of women at the time, and, well, the psychological games people play to keep the peace.
Absolutely.
So let's set the scene visually. Ibsen is famous for his stage directions. He doesn't just say a room. He gives us a psychological map.
He really does.
We are in a room described as comfortable and tasteful.
But not extravagant.
And that phrase, not extravagant, is doing a lot of heavy lifting right off the bat, isn't it?
A ton of heavy lifting. It tells us immediately where the Helmers sit on the social ladder. They aren't the wealthy aristocracy with old money. They're the middle class, maybe even lower middle class, clawing their way up.
They have to be careful.
Very careful.
There's a piano, engravings on the walls, which, correct me if I'm wrong, are cheaper than oil paintings.
Oh, much cheaper. It's the 1879 equivalent of buying like art prints from a museum shop rather than the original canvas. It shows taste, but it also shows a budget.
Right. And there's a fire burning in the stove. It's winter. Enter our protagonist, Nora. And she is just vibrating. She's humming. She's carrying parcels. It's Christmas Eve.
She's in her element.
She leaves the door open to the hall, and a porter comes in with a Christmas tree. And here is the first little interaction that I think sets the tone for the entire economic discussion we're about to have. She asks the porter how much she owes him,
And he says, 6 pence.
and Nora gives him a shilling. Now, for those of us who aren't fluent in Victorian currency, what's the ratio there?
A shilling is 12 pence. So she's giving him double the asking price.
And she says, no, keep the change.
It seems like a small gesture, right? Just a generous tip for the holidays. But in the context of those stage directions, not extravagant, it shows us Nora's headspace right now.
Yeah.
She is feeling flush. She is feeling like the days of counting pennies and scraping by are finally over, that keep the change is a drug for her. It's a moment of power.
She hides the tree because the children can't see it until it's decorated. She takes off her coat, laughing to herself. And then she does something that I think is one of the most famous character beats in theater history. The macaroons.
The forbidden macaroons. This is where the detective work begins.
She takes a packet of macaroons from her pocket, eats a couple, and then this part that always gets me, she wipes her mouth to remove the crumbs. Then she goes cautiously to her husband's door and listens.
That stealth is the first crack in the painting. Why does a grown woman, a wife and mother of 3 children, have to sneak a cookie in her own home?
It feels like a teenager trying to sneak in past curfew.
Exactly. It implies a surveillance state within the marriage. She's checking if the authority figure is watching. It establishes immediately that this isn't a partnership of equals, it's a hierarchy.
Right.
She manages her life by hiding the small things that would annoy the boss.
And the boss is in there, Torvald Helmer. He calls out from the study. Is that my little lark twittering out there?
And notice Nora immediately switches modes. She doesn't say, yeah, it's me, I mean a cookie. She answers, yes, it is. She adopts the role he expects. She matches his energy.
Then he asks, is it my little squirrel bustling about? And again, yes. Then when did my squirrel come home?
We have to stop and really unpack this language. Little lark, little squirrel. Later we get little spendthrift, little featherhead.
It's a lot. It feels almost suffocatingly sweet.
It is suffocating. I mean, on one hand, you could argue it's just affectionate baby talk. Couples have nicknames.
Sure.
But look at the specific choice of animals. Squirrels, larks. These are small, flighty, skittish creatures.
A squirrel's also a hoarder, right? They hide nuts.
That's a brilliant connection. Yes, they hoard and they bustle. They don't have deep thoughts. They have frantic energy. By constantly referring to her as these animals, Torvald is stripping her of adult agency.
He's not seeing her.
He isn't calling her my partner or my wife, or even Nora in these moments. He's engaging with a caricature. He loves the performance of the helpless, cute creature.
And Torvald isn't just using them as pet names. He uses them to define her behavior. When he comes out of the room, he sees the parcels and immediately asks, "Has my little spendthrift been wasting money again?"
There it is. The core conflict of their daily life, money. Torvald views Nora as a child who cannot handle finances, a spendthrift, someone who lets money slip right through her fingers.
But Nora pushes back here, and this is important. She says, "Torvald, this year we really can let ourselves go a little. This is the first Christmas we haven't needed to economize."
Because
And this is the big news driving the plot, Torvald has just been made the manager of the joint stock bank.
which is a huge deal. In 1879, a bank manager is a pillar of society. It means a massive salary increase, security, status.
Everything. But notice Torvald's caution. He's the buzzkill.
He always is.
He says the salary doesn't start until the new year, and he won't get his first paycheck for a whole quarter. He says we can't spend money recklessly.
He's the voice of fiscal reason. Or so he thinks.
And Nora's response is so telling. She says, "Pooh, we can borrow until then."
And that triggers Torvald. He actually goes over and takes her playfully by the ear.
By the ear, like a naughty schoolgirl.
It's physical condescension. It's how you scold a child. And he gives her this lecture on his philosophy. He says, no debt, no borrowing. He believes that there can be no freedom or beauty about a home life that depends on borrowing and debt.
That is a very rigid moral stance for a Christmas conversation.
It is, but it tells us everything about Torvald. To him, debt isn't just a financial instrument, it's a moral failing. It makes a home ugly and unfree. In the 19th century, a man's reputation was his currency. If you were in debt, you were compromised. You weren't a free man. Keep that in mind, because that belief is the brick wall Nora is going to crash into later.
But then, seeing her look a little sulky, he caves. He pulls out his purse and gives her money.
He treats her exactly like a parent treating a child who is pouting. He knows the way to fix her mood is cash. He hands her notes and asks what she's got.
And she is so excited. She counts it. 10 shillings a pound, 2 pounds. She's thrilled.
Like a kid on Christmas morning.
And then she shows him what she bought. And this is interesting. She bought a new suit for Ivar, a sword, a horse, and trumpet for Bob. And for Emmy, her daughter, a doll and a dolly's bedstead.
The cycle continues. She's buying a doll for her daughter, reinforcing the same training she received. She's teaching her to play house.
But she says about the doll, they're very plain, but anyway, she will soon break them in pieces.
That's a very pragmatic, almost cynical view of her own daughter's toys. It shows that Nora understands the temporary nature of these pretty things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then Torvald asks the million-dollar question, what would you like for yourself?
And Nora dodges. She says she doesn't want anything. But he presses her. And finally, she plays with his coat buttons, again, using that physical charm, and says, "If you really want to give me something, you might give me money."
She wants liquid cash. She says she'll buy something later and wrap it in gold paper for the tree.
Torvald sees right through this, though. He says if she really saved it and bought something, that would be one thing. But he says, it melts in your hands.
And then he brings her father into it.
He tells her, it is in the blood. You are an odd little soul, very like your father.
This is a crucial piece of backstory. He attributes her inability to handle money to genetics. He says she inherited it from her father, implying her father was also bad with money, perhaps a bit reckless.
He's written it off as something unchangeable.
Exactly. He resigns himself to it. One must take you as you are. He thinks she literally can't help it. He thinks it's biology, which makes what he does next so much worse.
The interrogate.
He looks at her suspiciously and says, hasn't Miss Sweet Tooth been breaking rules in town today?
The interrogation begins. And look at how specific he gets.
It's like a cross-examination.
He asks if she paid a visit to the confectioner's. She denies it. Not been nibbling sweets? No, certainly not. Not even taking a bite at a macaroon or two.
And Nora lies flat out. No, Torvald, I assure you, really. She says she wouldn't think of going against his wishes.
Why does she lie about a cookie? I mean, really, it seems so trivial.
It establishes the dynamic perfectly.
Hmm.
She is afraid of his disapproval. She manages the marriage by hiding the small things that would annoy him. It's a peace at any price strategy.
And it also shows us something else.
It proves something very important for the plot. Nora is capable of looking her husband in the eye and lying to his face without blinking. That skill, that ability to perform innocence while hiding guilt, is going to be very important later.
So we have the little squirrel who eats forbidden cookies and begs for pennies. But then the doorbell rings.
Bing dong.
And reality walks in.
Enter Mrs. Christine Lynn,
The foil.
the absolute foil. If Nora is the spirit of Christmas and abundance, Christine is the spirit of, like, Ash Wednesday. She is dressed in traveling clothes. She speaks in a dejected and timid voice.
Nora doesn't even recognize her first.
No, Nora says, how you have altered Christine. And Christine admits she's much older, paler, thinner. It's been 9 or 10 years since they met.
And let's look at the comparison. Nora has had 8 happy years. Christine's been a widow for 3. And when Nora asks if her husband left her anything, Christine says, no money,
No children.
not even any sorrow or grief to live upon. That is such a bleak line. It stops me every time.
It's devastating. It means the marriage was so transactional, so devoid of love that she doesn't even miss him. She's just empty.
She married for survival.
She did.
Yeah.
And now she has neither love nor survival secured. And how does Nora respond to this tragic figure?
She starts talking about herself.
It is painfully awkward to listen to. Nora says, I mustn't be selfish today, but I must tell you, my husband has been made manager of the bank.
She just can't help it. She's bubbling over. She tells Christine they're going to have heaps and heaps of money.
And Christine smiles sadly and says, it would be delightful to have what one needs.
And Nora corrects her.
Yeah.
No, not only what one needs, but heaps and heaps of money.
Oh, no.
Nora comes off as incredibly shallow here. A little cruel, even though I think it's unintentional. Is she just self-absorbed?
I think it's arrested development. She has been kept in this doll's house, protected from the harsh realities that Christine has lived through. She treats life like a game because for her, it has been one.
Until Christine calls her on it.
Yes, Christine calls her out. She says, Nora, haven't you learned sense yet? In our school days, you were a great spendthrift.
She uses the same word Torvald does.
Exactly. And this accusation that Nora is a child, a spender, someone who knows nothing of the real world, this is the trigger. Nora gets offended. She tosses her head. She says, you shouldn't be so superior.
She's had enough of being treated like a kid.
Nora is desperate to prove she isn't just a doll. She wants to prove she has agency. She wants to be taken seriously as an adult. So she drops the bomb. She reveals the great secret.
The thing that nobody knows except her.
Right. She tells Christine that she, Nora, has something to be proud of too. She saved Torvald's life.
Okay, let's unpack this backstory because this is the engine that drives the whole play. A while back, Torvald was deathly ill. The doctor said he had to go south to Italy to survive, but they didn't have the money.
It cost 250 pounds.
Can we contextualize that amount? What is that in today's money?
It's a massive sum. It's roughly the annual salary of a lower middle class professional at the time. I mean, imagine trying to come up with, what, $50,000 or $60,000 cash over the weekend without your spouse knowing? It's huge.
Impossible.
Yeah.
And Torvald thinks the money came from Nora's father. But Nora reveals to Christine, Papa didn't give us a shilling. It was I who procured the money.
Christine is shocked. She asks if Nora won the lottery.
And Nora snorts at that. In the lottery, there would have been no credit in that. She wants credit for her actions.
Then Christine asks the obvious question. You couldn't have borrowed it because a wife cannot borrow without her husband's consent.
And here we have to talk about the law. This is the concept of coverture.
Yes. In the 19th century, a married woman had no legal financial identity separate from her husband. She was, legally speaking, an extension of him. She couldn't sign a contract. She couldn't take out a loan. She was effectively a minor.
So for Nora to get this money, she had to navigate a system designed to stop her.
Exactly. And when Christine points this out, Nora gives this cryptic, flirtatious answer. Oh, if it is a wife who has any head for business, a wife who has the wit to be a little bit clever.
She loves the drama of it all.
She implies she might have gotten it from an admirer. She loves the mystery of it. She wants Christine to think she's a femme fatale.
But eventually she gets to the reality. She explains how she's been paying it back. And this totally changes our view of Nora.
Absolutely. The Spendthrift Act is a cover. She reveals that whenever Torvald gives her money for dresses or the house, she saves half of it.
Half.
She buys the cheapest clothes. She says it's been hard because she likes to dress nicely, but she's done it.
So all those times, Torvald called her a spendthrift and said money melts in her hands.
She was actually aggressively saving to pay off the debt she incurred to save his life. The irony is tragic. He mocks her for the very trait financial irresponsibility that she is feigning to protect him.
And she's done more than skimp. She says last winter she got copying work. I locked myself up and sat writing every evening until quite late at night.
It was like being a man, she says.
That line gave me chills. She found dignity in the work. She was tired, but she was proud.
It shows she is capable, hardworking, and fiercely devoted. She did all of this to save Torvald, and she does all of this to protect his pride.
She explains that explicitly, doesn't she?
She does. She says Torvald, with his manly independence, would find it painful and humiliating to know he owed her anything. It would upset our mutual relations.
So she knows exactly who he is. She's protecting his ego as much as she protected his health.
Precisely. The marriage works because he feels like the provider and she feels like the dependent. If he knew she was the financial savior, the balance would collapse. He wouldn't know how to be married to an equal.
Christine asks if she'll ever tell him, and Nora says, yes, someday, perhaps, after many years, when I'm no longer as nice-looking as I am now.
Which is just heartbreaking. She believes her value to him is tied to her being nice-looking, dancing, and dressing up.
Yeah.
She views this secret debt as a sort of insurance policy. When her beauty fades and he gets bored of her, she can reveal this sacrifice to prove her worth.
It's a survival strategy.
It is, but right now she feels safe. She thinks with the new bank job, she can pay off the rest of the debt easily. She says she is free from care. She jumps up and says, it's a wonderful thing to be alive and happy.
And right on cue ding dong, the doorbell rings again.
The structure of this act is masterful. Every time Nora feels safe, that bell rings. It's like a Pavlovian trigger for anxiety.
This time, it's not a friend. It's Krogstad.
Nils Krogstad. He's a lawyer, and he holds a small post at the bank where Torvald is now the boss.
The stage directions say Nora speaks in a strained, low voice when she sees him. She is terrified.
He says he's there on bank business. He goes into Torvald's study, and while he's in there, Dr. Rank comes out.
We should introduce Dr. Rank properly. He's the family friend, older, a doctor, and he seems, well, kind of dark.
He's the cynic. He's the Greek chorus of the play. He describes society as a sick house. He immediately identifies Krogstad as morally diseased.
He doesn't mince words.
Not at all. He tells Nora and Mrs. Lind that Krogstad is a bad guy, but even Krogstad wants to live. Rank sees the rot in everyone.
There's this weird little interlude here where Nora gets super excited about power. Dr. Rank mentions that employees at the bank are now dependent on Torvald.
And Nora starts walking around the room humming and says, it's perfectly glorious to think that Torvald has so much power over so many people.
It's a flash of her desire for control.
Totally. She feels powerless in her own life, constantly begging for shillings, so she enjoys the idea of her husband having power. It's vicarious power. And then she does the macaroon thing again.
Yes. She offers one to Dr. Rank.
And Rank says, what macaroons? I thought they were forbidden here. He knows the rules at the house.
And Nora lies again. She points to Christine and says, Christine gave them to me.
Poor Christine is standing there like, what? I did. And Nora whispers, don't be alarmed. It's a comedy of lies. She uses her friend as a human shield for a cookie.
It's absurd.
But then Nora says something really interesting. She says she has a huge desire to say something in front of Torvald.
Rank asks what it is, and she says she wants to say, well, I'm damned.
A curse word. In 1879, for a lady to say, I'm damned in her drawing room, that is punk rock. That is rebellion.
She wants to shock the doll's house system.
She wants to shatter the perfection. It shows this bubbling pressure inside her. She wants to break the rules, even if just verbally.
But she doesn't get to say it. Because Torvald comes out. He's got his coat on. He's been talking to Krogstad.
And here we see Torvald in manager mode. Nora introduces Christine. And to his credit, Torvald is polite.
And Nora immediately starts hustling for Christine. She says Christina's clever, wants to work under a clever man, and came all this way.
Flattery. She knows exactly which buttons to push.
Pure flattery, and it works. Torvald says, very likely I may be able to find something for you. He basically hires her on the spot because a spot just opened up.
A convenient opening.
They all leave together, Torvald, Christine, and Rank, leaving Nora alone with the children.
And we get a scene of domestic chaos. The nurse brings the kids in. Nora plays with them. She's taking off their coats, throwing them in the air, hiding under the table. It's hide and seek.
She is literally hiding under a table when the door opens. And it's not her husband, it's Krogstad. Back again.
The visual contrast here is so stark and disturbing. You have the laughter of children, the game, the innocence, and then the dark figure of Krogstad standing in the doorway in a heavy coat. The game is over. Reality has breached the perimeter.
Nora sends the kids away. She's terrified. She asks what he wants.
Krogstad gets straight to the point. He saw Torvald walking down the street with Mrs. Lind. He puts two and two together. He asks, is Mrs. Lind to have an appointment in the bank?
Nora tries to pull rank. She says, what right have you to question me? I am the manager's wife.
A title she thinks has power.
She admits, yes, Mrs. Lind is getting a job. And she brags, it was I who pleaded her cause.
She's trying to show she has power. One has a tiny little bit of influence, she says. She's trying to intimidate him.
Bad move.
Terrible move. Because Krogstad says, great, then use your influence for me.
It turns out the job Torvald is giving to Mrs. Lind. It's Krogstad's job. Krogstad is being fired to make room for her.
And Krogstad isn't going to take it lying down. He tells Nora he will fight for his small post in the bank as if he were fighting for his life.
Why is this job so important to him? He implies he has other businesses, probably shady money lending. Why does he care about a low-level bank clerk job?
It's about reputation. This is where Krogstad becomes a human being and not just a villain. He explains his backstory.
Right.
Years ago, he committed an indiscretion. He wasn't taken to court, but every door closed to him. He's been in the mud socially.
He's a pariah.
Exactly. But now, his sons are growing up. He wants to win back respect for their sake. The bank job was the first step up the ladder of respectability, and Torvald is kicking him back down into the mud.
So he gives Nora an ultimatum. Keep my job safe or else.
Nora says she can't. She admits she actually has no influence over Torvald. Her bragging was just hot air.
So Krogstad pulls out the big gun. He reveals that he is the one who lent Nora the 250 pounds for the Italy trip.
He holds the bond, the IOU.
Nora says, so what? I'm paying you back. And she says if he tells Torvald, Torvald will just pay the rest of the debt instantly and then kick Krogstad out for good.
Nora thinks the only secret is the debt. She thinks the crime is just borrowing money without permission. She thinks it's a domestic squabble.
But it's so much more than that.
Krogstad corrects her. He says, either you have a very bad memory or you know very little of business.
Here comes the detective work. This is the smoking gun moment.
Krogstad pulls out the bond, he reminds her. The bond required a surety, a co-signer. Because Nora couldn't legally borrow money on her own, she needed a man to guarantee the loan. That man was her father.
Nora was supposed to send the paper to her father, have him sign it, and send it back.
And she did. It has his signature.
So what's the problem?
Krogstad asks a very specific question. Do you remember what day your father died?
Nora answers September 29th.
Krogstad says correct. Then he points to the bond. There is a discrepancy. The signature of her father is dated October 2nd.
3 days after he died.
A dead man cannot sign his name.
Oof. That is indisputable physical evidence. There's no talking your way out of that.
And Krogstad twists the knife. He says, it is a remarkable thing, too, that the words 2nd of October and the year are not in your father's handwriting, but in one that I think I know.
He knows she forged it.
He asks her point blank, is that a genuine signature?
And Nora. And this is the moment where the doll cracks. She stops lying.
She does.
She throws her head up, looks him in the eye, and says, no, it was not. It was I that wrote Papa's name.
It is a breathtaking moment of naivety and defiance. She confesses to a crime immediately. She hands him the confession on a silver platter.
She explains why. She says her father was dying. She couldn't go to him and ask for money and tell him Torvald was dying too. It would have been too cruel to trouble him in his final hours.
So she signed it herself.
She says, I did it for love. She believes her motive justifies the act.
Yeah.
She saved her husband. She spared her father. In her mind, she is a moral hero.
And Krogstad, the lawyer, gives her a reality check. He says, the law takes no account of motives.
Nora replies, then it must be a very foolish law.
That line sums up her entire worldview. She lives in a world of feelings and moral correctness, not legal technicalities.
But Krogstad warns her. He says, I committed an indiscretion like that once. It turns out Krogstad's crime that ruined his reputation, the indiscretion everyone whispers about, was exactly the same thing.
Forgery.
So Krogstad isn't just a random threat. He is Nora's mirror.
He is exactly her mirror. He is what happens when society finds out you broke the rules. He tells her, if I go down a second time, I shall take you with me.
He leaves, and Nora's left alone in the room.
And the terror sets in. She tries to busy herself. She starts arranging the Christmas tree again, fixing the ornaments. No, it is impossible, she says to herself. I did it for love.
She is chanting it like a mantra, trying to convince herself that love trumps law.
But the doubt is creeping in. The children come to the door, and she tells the nurse, no, don't let them into me.
And then, the darkest foreshadowing of the act, she asks the nurse, and if I went away altogether, would the children forget their mother?
Went away altogether. She is thinking about suicide. Or running away.
She realizes that her presence might contaminate them.
Krogstad told her that a lying mother poisons the home. Torvald has said similar things about Krogstad, that his moral corruption infects his children. Now Nora looks at her own hands and sees the infection.
She sees herself as a threat.
A threat to her own children. And that is where Act I ends.
We started with a cozy fire and a generous tip to a porter, a woman feeling flush with success.
Yeah.
We end with a woman contemplating her own disappearance, realizing that her perfect home is built on a crime that could destroy everything.
It's an incredible escalation of stakes.
So let's look at the big picture here. What have we learned about the doll's house in this first act?
We've learned that it's a performance art piece. Torvald performs the role of the benevolent, strong provider. Nora performs the role of the helpless, cheerful squirrel.
But the reality is inverted.
Completely. Nora is the one who took the risk, did the work, and saved the family. Torvald is the one living in a fantasy where money just appears and debts don't exist.
And we've learned that the outside world, the world of Krogstad and Mrs. Lind, is cold and hard. It operates on rules, dates, and signatures.
And Nora has tried to keep that world out, but she invited it in when she signed that paper.
The central tension is established then, the conflict between the law, which Krogstad and Torvald represent,
and human duty, which Nora represents. She broke the law to save a life. The question the play asks is, does that matter?
Krogstad says no. The law is the law.
And Torvald, with his speech about no debt, no beauty, suggests he would agree. If he finds out, he won't see a wife who loved him enough to commit a crime. He will see a criminal and a liar who has ruined his reputation.
Which makes Nora's situation impossible. To save him, she had to lie to him. To keep him, she has to keep lying.
But the truth is, in the mail, or rather, walking out the door with Krogstad, it's a ticking clock. The bond exists. The date is wrong. The handwriting matches. There is no way out of the facts.
It sets us up perfectly for the rest of the play. The doll is waking up, and the house is about to catch fire.
And the tragedy is she thinks she can still fix it by just being charming or decorating the tree. She thinks if she acts the part of the squirrel well enough, the law will disappear.
But it won't.
She doesn't realize yet that charm can't fix a forgery charge.
It's going to be a rough Christmas for the Helmers.
Indeed.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into Act 1. We've unpacked the pet names, the macaroons, the secret debt, and the forgery.
It's a dense first act. Ibsen wastes absolutely no time.
Before we go, here's a thought to chew on. Nora believes that the law is foolish because it doesn't account for love or necessity.
Yeah.
And we tend to side with her, right? We think she saved her husband, she shouldn't go to jail.
Right. We want the hero to win. She's the protagonist.
But think about Krogstad. He did the same thing. He committed a forgery, likely to help his family or save himself from ruin. And for that, he was cast out of society, labeled morally diseased, and is now being fired.
That's the uncomfortable mirror, isn't it?
If we forgive Nora, do we have to forgive Krogstad? Or is Nora just as hypocritical as Torvald, thinking her crime is noble and justified by love, while Krogstad's was just dirty business?
That is the question. Is she a heroine or just another person who thinks the rules shouldn't apply to them?
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for Act 2.